Hi, welcome to my channel Ruby Net Crochet Tejido. Today I'm gonna teach you how to knit this beautiful kid's hat. It's for a kid from around 18 months to 2 years old. It's really beautiful and easy to do. I hope you guys like it and give it a try. And here is the list of material you're gonna need to make it. If you are not already a subscriber, please subscribe and click on the little bell. That way you get notification each time I upload a video. Remember, I make my video in Spanish and English. If you receive a Spanish video and you want to see the video in English, you go to the main page of my YouTube channel. Then you'll find the English version in there. Also, you can send me a message and I can send you the link. And at the end of each video, I leave a playlist with all my English tutorials. To make this hat, I'm going to use this carrot cake cupcake. I bought this a while ago, but I never had a chance to make a hat. And it has beautiful fall color, so I'm gonna do a fall hat for William. And the color is Tutti Frutti Light 3. They recommend a 4mm netting needles, and it's 100% acrylic, 85 grams. And I already have the pom-pom, so I don't have to make one. You're gonna need markers, one to mark each time you begin and end a round, and other one for when you start the decrease. You're gonna need tapestry needle and scissor and measurement tape. Now here I have two lengths of double pointed needle, but they are the same size, 4.5. I don't know which one I'm gonna use. So for netting the hat, I'm gonna use a 4mm for the brim and a 4.5 for the top of the hat, and both are 16 inches or 40.5 millimeters. Now if you don't have these two needles, you only have one, let's say a 4mm, you can do all your hat with a 4mm or with a 4.5, whichever you have. But something that you have to have is the double pointed needle the same size of the netting needle that you're going to use for the hat. If you have some of this yarn that they have the pom-pom, don't cut your yarn in here, because if you cut the yarn, you'll be cutting some of the length for the yarn of the pom-pom. So you're going to undo that knot and put the pom-pom aside until you finish your hat. So I'm going to remove that knot, and then I'm going to start casting on our hat. So it was really easy to remove the knot for removing the pom-pom, so I use a very sharp needle, and that makes it very easy. So let's cast on our stitches. I'm gonna start with the blue one on the outside, netting all the way into the orange. I'm gonna start by leaving a tail long enough for casting on my stitches, and I'm gonna cast on 78 plus 1 to make the circle. If you want this hat for a 1 year old, around that age, you can do 72 stitches if you're working with the same yarn and needles. And if you want it a little bit bigger, you just add 6 more stitches to the 78. So you're gonna start wrapping around. I had 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, just 20. I pull it out. 20 and 20 is 40, and 40 and 40 is 80. Since I'm going to cast on 79, 80 is fine. So I'm going to start with a slip knot. Very easy slip knot. So I will show you one more time.
you're gonna wrap your yarn around your finger. You're gonna pull out that loop. You see, it's crossed like that, and then this strand you pass it under and up. You pull it out and you pull this one, and you create your slip knot. Very easy. So I'm gonna start casting on my 78 plus 1 stitches. That plus 1 is just to close the circle, that way it's nice and even. So I will meet you here when I have all the stitches on my needle. Here I have my 79 stitches, and I left these without making a knot. That way I can do this. What I'm going to do now, make sure that this little rib is in the inside, that they're not twisted. And then in here we're gonna slip the first stitch from the left hand to the right hand needle, and then the stitch 79 you're gonna slip that stitch over that stitch and you cast it off, and then you pass this one back to the left hand needle. Now you pull these two ends and you're gonna come here and the inside, and you're gonna do a knot, just one knot, to make sure that that is nice and tight and you don't have any space in between those stitches, and it's nice and round. Now we're gonna start with row 1, or round 1, and it's a rib stitch of 1 by 1, 1 net 1 purl. So you're gonna net 1, purl 1, net 1, purl 1, net, and then purl. And like that you're going to continue all the way until you get to the last stitch that is before the marker. So as you work, you have to move your stitches, that way they can go around your needles and make your work more easy to do. So you're going to continue with the 1 net 1 purl. Start with a net and you'll finish with a purl. So I finished row 1 and I start already row 2 with 1 net. I did my net and then 1 purl, 1 net 1 purl. You're going to continue with this repetition until you have your desired length for the brim. You have two options here for the brim. You can do like a 2-inch brim. That is just to leave a single brim. If you want to fold it, and then you'll do around 4 inches for the brim. That's what I'm gonna do for this one for William, because here in Canada it's really cold, so this yarn is quite thin. So to keep his ear a little warm, I will have to make this double. That way I will fold it in half and it will be nice and warm. So for mine will be 4-inch brim. Okay. So I'm gonna continue with 1 net 1 purl until I have that length for mine. Okay. So I will work off camera and then I will show you the stitch that we're gonna do. It's a very easy stitch. Here I have my 4 inches, and what a coincidence that 2 inches are in the blue and 2 in the green. So now I'm going to change needle size. I'm going to work with a 4.5 and I start the first row of the motif that we're going to work, the stitch. This stitch is the repetition of 12 rows or rounds, but they are very easy. It's just combination of net and purls. I remove my marker because I don't gonna need the marker in this round, because I'm gonna change needle sizes. if you are working with the same needles, you just pass the marker to the other side and then start with a stitch. But for me, I'm gonna change to a 0.5 size bigger, or a half, not 0.5, half a size bigger. So you're gonna knit 3, 1, 2, and 3, and purl 3, and that's what you're gonna do in this row number 1. Knit 3, purl 3, knit 3, purl 3, and that's just 6 stitches. So you're gonna continue with 3 knit, 3 purl, 3 knit, 1, 2, and 3, and 3 purls, 1, 2, and 3, and like that you're going to continue your first row. I finished row 1, and I already recorded a little piece in Spanish, and it's the same repetition of row 1 here in row 2 and 3. Okay, you're going to do 3 knit, 1, 2, and 3 purls. You're going to knit the knit and purl the purls. Three knit, 3 purl. And like that you're going to continue until you finish row 2 with 3 knit, 3 purl. See, these 3 are knit, I had to knit them, and these 3 are purl, I will purl them. And so in row 3, exactly the same, 3 knit, 3 purl, 3 knit, 3 purl, like row 1 and 2. 3 knit, 3 purl, and every 3 round or row, the stitch will change. So we don't gonna knit on top of the purl on top of the knit. No, it's different, but it's very easy. You will see. So 3 purl now, and then 3 knit, 3 purl, 3 knit, 3 purl, and you will do that all the way around. 2 and 3 knit, and now 3 purl. 1, 2, and 3. So you see, I start with 3 knits, and behind the marker a 3 purl. That way is even the stitch as you work. I finished row 3. Now for 4 is a purl row. All the stitches are purl all the way around. You see, all the stitches purl, even the knits are purl now. I finished row 4, and 5 and 6 is like 4. 2 row of purl. So you're gonna purl this one. When you finish, you're gonna purl the next one, and then I will meet you here to start row 7. Okay. So you have to do 2 rows around of purls. Once you finish row 6, you're going to start with row 7, and it's the repetition of row 1. 3 knit, 3 purls. And this you're going to repeat these 3 rows again, row 1, 2, and 3, and row 7, 8, and 9. Three knit, 3 purls. continue with 3 net 3 purl, 3 net 3 purl. And 3 purl. I finished row 7, and on 8 is again the same repetition, 3 net 3 purls, 1, 2 and 3. You only have to start with 3 nets, that way the stitch is the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so now 3 purls, 3 net 3 purls, 3 net 3 purls all the way around, and this is row 8. So row 9 is the same, 3 purl, 3 net 3 purl, 3 net 1, 2 and 3 net 3 purl, 3 net 3 purl, and then when you finish this row 9, I'll measure here to change our stitch in row 10. Okay, I finished row 9. Now 10 is a net row. You're gonna net every single stitch. Now in row 11 and 12 you're gonna do repetition of row 10, 2 net row. So you're gonna net this one and the next one, and then I will meet you here. Remember to row on net. I finished those 12 rows, and I fold here where I want my hat to be folded when it's done, and then I place a marker here in the inside. That way I will guide myself my measurement from that marker. I will be measuring from here up, my 4 or 4.5 inches long. I will measure as I go because these needles are a little bit bigger than this one, so the hat is a little bit wider in top, and I don't want it to be too long because when you fold, you can fold any way you want in here. If it's too long, you fold it a little more. Okay, so you will guide yourself the measurement from a marker, but if you did this that you don't want to fold it, you will measure from the border, and you're going to do from 4 to 4.5 inches. So you're going to do those 12 row repetition, so it changed 4 times. Row 1, 2 and 3 is 3 net 3 purl, 3 net 3 purl. Row 4, 5 and 6 is a 3 purl row. Row 7, 8 and 9 is a repetition. Row 1, 2 and 3 is 3 net 3 purl, 3 net 3 purl, and row 10, 11 and 12 is net row. So I'm gonna do this off camera because it's very easy to continue for you guys, and I'm gonna leave each row in the description box, and then you can write it down and guide yourself by that. And here I did each time I did a row, I put row 1, 2 and 3, and then 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8 and 9, 10, 11 and 12, and I will continue that way. If I had to stop my work for any reason, I know in which row or round I stop, and then in which one I will continue. Okay, so I will meet you here when I have my length from 4 to 4.5 inches long for the top of the hat. So I have here almost 4.5 inches, and I've only done 2 of the repetition of the design. Looks really nice, and I'm working in repetition of row 11 now. I'm gonna start that one, but I had to do 3 decrease because I have 78 stitches, so I don't can divide it in even part, those 78. So I will have to do the separation of 15 stitches, so that will be 75. And then I have those 3 extra that I'm gonna do the decrease at random here, around 19 stitches, and then 20 and 21 together, and then again around that, or 18 stitches in 19 and 20 together. And I will do the separation that way. In the next row, repetition of row 12, I can start dividing the stitches and start with the decrease of separating the piece in 15 groups of the stitches, you know, 15, 15, 15. I'm gonna start those 3 decrease. And I forgot to mention that I have to cut my yarn in here to attach this lighter or yellowish orange, because otherwise I'll only have to work all my stitches with the orange, with this deep orange, and I wanted to work with almost all the colors, so I did that. So now I'm gonna net, because it's a net row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and I decided to do my decrease in here and these pearls. So when I'm working the pearl, and instead of having 3 pearls, I will have 2 in that section. So I will do these 2 together, and then again I will start counting until I can do the next decrease around the next pearl place, probably around here when I have the amount that I need, and then one more time in here, and I'll have everything separated the same. So in next row I will start doing the separation with the other markers to do the decreases. I finished the round and I did those 3 decrease. So now I'm gonna do 13 net and 14 and 15 together and place the marker. I already did my first one, that way my marker don't fall off. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14 and 15 together. And then you're going to place the marker, and then you're going to continue with the same 13 net and 14 and 15 together in a net stitch. Now we're going to do this row without any decrease, but we have to work the repetition of row 1 if you want to continue with the repetition at the design. Otherwise you can continue with net all the stitches. So row 1 is 3 net, 3 pearls, 3 nets, 3 pearls, and now since we have done decrease, we're supposed to have 3 net, but we have 1 net for the stitch, and the 1 net, that this one always will be net, the one before the marker. Even if you're working all the row pearl, that one always will be a net stitch, the one before the marker. So I will do this net, and then the next one is a net because it's the one before the marker. You're gonna pass your marker, and remember we did a decrease those 3 stitches, and if you look, you work now, and here you see all these one are net since here, and those are the 3 net. So instead of start with 3 pearls, you only can do 2 pearls because we did that decrease in here. So you will do 2 pearls, and then 3 knit, 3 purls, three knits, and now I had to do 3 purls, but I only can do 2 because the one before the marker is always a knit. So you do that one and knit. Pass your marker and then you will see the stitches that you have. You see, and here I only have 2 knit. So it's easier to look like this. You see, you look at the stitch. These are 3 knit in here, but one is on the other side of the marker, so I do 2 knit. And here it was where I did the decrease at that purl, the 3 purls that I did the decrease in 3 places. So 2 purls in here, and then 3 knit, 3 purl, 3 knit, 1 purl. But instead to do a purl, you have to do a knit because it is that knit stitch of before the marker. So if you don't want to complicate things by doing the stitch as you go, you can do, like I mentioned, just knit. I'm going to continue with a stitch because I want to have more of the stitch up at the top of the hat. So if you don't, you will have just this 2 section of the repetition of the stitch, you see? But I wanted to bring it all the way up. But you just have to pay attention in which stitch you are working, and you can see them by the row before, where the purls go and where the knits go. You see? It's very easy to figure it out, and if you see that in here you only have in this row knit 2 knit, so you just do 2 knit. In this one you have 2 purls, just do 2 purls. So I'll show you one more time, and here I will do this 2 knit, pass the marker. And then in here you will see that I only have 2 purl. That was where I did the decrease before. So, and then 3 knit, 1, 2, and 3 purls. And it's easy to know which one you're supposed to do because you'll see the knits here are higher and the purl are lower, so it's in that region. It's easier for you to see which one you're supposed to work in that stitch. Okay, so in here I did 3 purl. Now I had to do 3 knit, 1, 2, and 3, and now 3 purl. But since before the marker I only have 1 and that one is always a knit, I will knit that one. You see? So I pass the marker, and then in here I have 1 purl left, and then 3 knit, because you see this was in the lower part at that ridge, and then I will do my 3 knit, and then 3 purl, 3 knit, and I will continue guiding myself by the row below and doing my stitches. So in this one you are not decreasing, but in the next one you are working the stitch and decreasing, because we did the first row decreasing repetition of row 12, that was the next row, but now we're working repetition row 1, just the stitch, and then in repetition of row 2 is the stitch again, but we had to do a decrease because they're decreasing. 1 row you decrease, 1 you don't, and 1 you do, and so on. Okay. So I rather to have the stitch missing a few, you know, like for example here I only have 1 purl, than netting all the top of the hat. Now we're going to work on the repetition of row 2, and at the same time it's a decrease row. So I'm sorry that for the last few little pieces of recording I have the zoom up. I don't zoom in close enough. And you can see all my work around, my notebooks and all the little balls and the mess around. Because I had two notebooks, and this one I have here the pattern in English, here in Spanish. And I try to keep track of what I'm doing, that way I can, in the description box, I can give you as much information as I can. So that's why they mess around. So now we're going to work in repetition on row 2. And that is exactly the same as row 1, except that we are decreasing the 2 stitches before the marker. And you're going to keep the stitches as you did in the last row. For example, these are 2 purl, you'll do 2 purl in here, and so on. So I have to do 3 net, 1, 2, and 3 net, 3 purls, net, 3 purls, and now I have to do 3 net, but since I only had 2 stitches left before the marker, those 2 are a decreased stitch, so you go and do 2 together and a net stitch. Okay, you're going to pass your marker and you're going to work the stitches as you see them. So you have here 2 purl, so you will do 2 purl. And then you will do 3 net, 3 purl, 3 net, and then here I have 2 purl, but you're going to do 1 purl and the last 2 stitch together and a net stitch because you are decreasing. Okay, so I did my 3 net, and here I'm supposed to have 3 purls, but since I had to do decrease, I will purl 1, and since I only have 2 left, I will do those 2 together and a net stitch. You're going to pass your marker and then you look at your stitches. I have here 2 net, 2 purl, so I'll do 2 net, 2 purl, and then I have 3 net, 3 purl, and then I have to do, and instead of 3 net I will do 2 net and the last 2 before the marker together and a net stitch. So I finished the repetition of row 2 and was a decreased row. Now the repetition of row 3, you're going to work the stitches as you see them, and you don't want to decrease, so you're going to start 3 net, 3 purl, 3 net, 3 purl, and you see your stitches. For example, here I had 3 purl, 3 net, 3 purl, and the one before the marker is always a net. And then in here I had 2 purl, 3 net, 3 purl, 3 net, 1 purl, and this one before the marker will be a net, and so on. You continue as you see the stitches, you continue working them, and always the one before the marker is a net stitch. And then I will meet you here in next row. It's a repetition of row 4. It's a purl row, and I'll show you how we're going to do the decreases. I'm working a repetition of row 4, and it's a purl row. So you're going to purl all your stitches until you have 2 before the marker, that those 2 go together in a net stitch, because this is a decrease row. So you purl and purl, and purl, and I had 2 stitches before the marker, and those 2 you're gonna knit them together for a decrease, and always those 2 is done in a knit stitch. So you're gonna continue purl your stitches until you had 2 before the marker, and you knit those 2 together for a decrease, and so on in each space until you get to the one here. This is the beginning of the row, and the last 2 they go together for a decrease. So repetition of row 5 is a purl row. So you're going to purl all your stitches except the one before the marker that is a net stitch, the one that we did the decrease. And next row is a purl row again. That's repetition of row 6, and you will do that row with a decrease. And then we're going to continue doing our decreases until we can't work anymore with these circulars, or until we have 8 stitches in between each marker, and then we change to the double pointed needle to do the rest of the decrease. Yeah, this one is the one before the marker, and it's a net stitch. Then I'm going to continue purl until the one before the marker that is a net stitch, and so on. I finished repetition of 5, and now in repetition of 6 is a decrease row. So I'm going to do this row is just purl and a decrease before the marker, and then in the next one that is again the repetition of row 1, I will meet you here to show you how I'm going to do my stitches. And then from there you can continue until you have 8 stitches between the markers, or until you don't can work anymore with the circular and you want to change it to the double pointed needle. And if you don't want to work with a double pointed needle, what you do is you pull your wire out in places to make it easier to knit and decrease at the same time. Okay, I finished the repetition of row 6. Now we're gonna do the repetition of row 7, and is a stitch row. So it will be 3 net, 3 purl, 3 net, and 1 purl, 1 net. You see, this one is always a net. And then here you pass the marker. I have 2 purl, 3 net, 3 purl, these 2 net on top of this one, and the net that is the decrease before the marker. And then here I have 2 net, 2 purl, 3 net, 3 purl, plus the stitch in here. So you start, you see in here, this one don't exist anymore, and the top, the 3 nets in the top here. So you are decreasing those as you work, you see. So it's very easy. You just guide yourself by this one here where you don't did any decrease, and straight up you will have the stitch that you're supposed to, except when you done enough decrease that this one you see is not here anymore. Okay, so continue working. I have 10 in between marker. I want to work until I have 8 in between the markers, and then start working with the double pointed needles. I still have to do more decrease. I have 10 stitches between marker, but this yarn is so thin that I have to change them to the double pointed needle. That way it will be easier for me because I hardly can move them here anymore. So I'm gonna try with the shorter one. This is my first time trying the shorter one, so let's see if it makes sense easier for me. I never use this one. This one is a 4.5 millimeter, and they are 13 centimeters long, so they're nice and short. So I'm gonna start passing my yarn into this one. So the repetition that I'm doing is from 9, and I don't have to do decrease in this one. It's just the stitches as I have them, and I'm gonna be knitting 3 from 3 as the row before, and then I will pass the marker to this one, the next marker, and then pass another group to this one, because we have 5 of this needle and we have to put 4 in here, and we have 5 group of 15. So in one needle I will have 2 groups, and then in the other one just one single group of stitches. So that's what I'm gonna do and continue working that with the short. You see, it's really difficult now to work with this one, see? And this one is the one before the marker. I pass it like that, pass the marker, and continue with this one as I supposed to, and then when I get to the other marker I will pass into the other 3, and then continue working with one. So I finished that row and I mark here my beginning and end of each time I do a round, because I have to continue with the decreases. So the row that I did before this one was a decrease row. This one was a row without decrease. Now I have to do a row with decrease. There will be repetition of row 10, that is a net row. I will net and decrease 2 stitches before the marker, and then in the next row it will be without a decrease because I still have 10 stitches here. So until I have 8. Once I have 8, I will decrease on each row. So I'm gonna change to the blue. I'm gonna pull the red and change to the blue. That way I finish the top of the hat with the blue, and the orange will be the orange pom-pom and top of the blue. So if you like, you can continue working just net the rest of the hat. That's what I'm gonna do, net the rest. That will be easier for me to work just net, because you already see the design of the stitch in here. So that's what I'm gonna do for my rest of the hat, is just net each row. So I will continue with the decreases until I have 8, and I will meet you here for the decrease on each row or round. I have here 8 stitches on each section. So now I'm gonna start with decrease in every single row, and like I mentioned, I'm gonna continue with net just to finish the top. And let me tell you, love working with this shorter double pointed needle. Make work much easier than the longer one. It's incredible. If I found that I was getting easier to work with double pointed needle with the longer one, with this one is like incredible. So the only thing that one of these have a little bit of something that I catch in the yarn that I have to with the filer for my nails, do something like this to make it smooth. And I have to figure out which one it is as I work. So now we're gonna do decrease in all the rounds. And since I'm gonna work just net to make things even easier for you and me, and we're gonna decrease in every single one. So, in every single round, and then these two together. I still have to pass the marker because we have 2 sets in here. And like I mentioned before in my other video, the trick about working with double pointed needle when you change from one to the other one is the one that you just finished working with. Have it under as you work. And I will show you. Put the last 2 together. And you see this one that I finished working with, I had to put it under and then work this one here. And the needle is this one because I can feel it. If that I have a little, oh, I had a little black, I guess when they varnish it, something was in there, that catch, so it's gone. So, and here you see, by putting that one under when you're gonna work in the next 2 together, these 2 don't gonna have any separation, and there will be a good tension in between those stitches. So you're gonna continue working, doing your decrease until you have 10 stitches in total, 2 stitches per spaces. So 2 in this side, 2 in this one, 2, 2, and 2. So I have my 10 stitches, 4, 2, 2, and 2. Now I'm gonna close with this strand of yarn that I got in the top of the hat, and after that I'm gonna do 2 string in here in each side. That way William's mom or myself can tie underneath his chin, because he removed everything from his head, so come the winter time he will have to have his hat tied up, that way he don't take them off. So the other 2 hats that I made before, I will have to do that as well, do some strings for them. So now we're gonna close here, passing this strand twice and inside, and loosening the tails, sewing the pom-pom and doing the string. The hat will look like this, and I really like this stitch. Look really nice. So this tail in here, you're gonna lose a tail in the outside of the hat, that way when you fold this you don't have that seam, and here when you fold your brim. Now if you did the brim without folding it, and then you lose it in the inside, and then I'm gonna lose that tail, this one in the inside, and then we'll do the pom-pom and the 2 string to tie our hat. I really like the design of this hat for William. Now I'm gonna do the string, and I'm gonna use my DPN needles, double pointed needles, and then I'm gonna go in the inside here, and I'm gonna grab this pearl, and then and here these 3 net stitches. That's 2, 3, and 4. Okay, if you like, you can do one more on the other side. You can do 5, but I'm gonna do 4 in mine. Okay, and I'm gonna start in here. Sometimes in the inside I'm gonna work pearls and net, so I'm gonna start with pearl, and the outside I will be net. I'm gonna start here with the pearl. I'll have to lose that tail later. I'm gonna separate them, and then you're gonna pearl. And I hope you guys can see well what I'm doing. These 4, and I'm doing it with the green, that way you don't see the jar and the other side, and the right side of the hat and the outside. So you turn your work around, and you see I'm in the outside. This is going to be facing the outside. I'm going to knit, and you see the double pointed needle is much easier than using the straight needles or the circular. So you just move back and forth and move the needles around. This one will be a little bit loose because it's the tail that is not attached anywhere, and I just have to pull it a little bit to tie the stitch. And you see, you just move your hat, and then you work on the inside. And the inside I'm doing pearl, and the outside I'm doing net. You can do all net, all pearl, or whichever way you like. So for mine it will be pearl and net. And the length will be the length that you need for yours. So I don't know yet the length that I'm going to give to mine. And I will continue working doing this until I have the length that I need, and I will let you know when I measure mine. So just in case you want to do yours the same. And I will show you in the outside that you don't gonna see this. You see, you don't see anything in here, but this is optional. Like I say, William removed everything from his head, so we need to do something, because come the winter time he will need to wear his hats, because here the weather gets really cold. It's really cold. And like I mentioned, I'll have to do the same to the other ones that I already made. I will have to go and with the same color of yarn that I made them, do this. Around and back and forth, very easy to do. So I will meet you here when I have the length of my first one, and I will let you know to do the next one. As you work, it will get easier and easier because you don't have to turn anything around. Just you'll see. This is my first time doing a string to tie the hat, so far so good. So you see, you just have to turn this and purl. And turn and knit. That's why it's much easier with a double pointed needle. So you're going to continue doing this until you have the desired length. And look how nice that starts to look. It go around like an I-cord. This is the inside and this is the outside. I measured the length and I have 14 inches, and 14 inches is almost 36 centimeters long, so I think it's long enough. And now I'm gonna cast off my stitches, and very easy, I'm gonna slip my first stitch, knit the next one, pass the first one over the net stitch, and knit the other two together. And it will look like this. Now we have two. Turn our work around. We're gonna slip the first one purlwise and purl the next one. And we're gonna slip this one over that one. You're gonna cut your yarn, pass it through the loop, and loose the tail, and it will be like that with a nice little point. And exactly the same way we did this one, we're gonna do the other one, and then it's just to place the pom-pom and we are done our hat. Now to do the other side, what you're gonna do, you're gonna fold this like in the center in half like this, and then in the other side you're gonna look the one that is closest to this one, and I think it's this one here, and then you're gonna grab one from here, and 2, 3, and 4 stitches, and in those 4 stitches you're gonna work exactly the same as you did this. You're gonna finish, loose all the tails, and we will do the pom-pom. So you have to do exactly the same as we did here. Purl the first row and then knit, purl, knit, purl, knit. So here's the hat with this string. So I tried it on William and it looked amazing. My husband was saying you have to make one an adult size with that stitch because it look fantastic, and those fall color look amazing. So for the pom-pom, it's very strange that they come so separate. What I'm gonna do with the crochet hook, I'm gonna come, oops, wrong place, around here, pass one of the string, let me pull that if I can find it. Okay, so let me find where, and the other side around here. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. I will pass on the other side of the string. So I don't want to tie it really well because I don't know if William's mom will want this hat with the pom-pom. Let me tell you, without the pom-pom it look amazing, so I don't know. So what I'm gonna do is here, I'm gonna do a little bow and wait until she comes home from work and see what she thinks. So it's a little loose in here, but look how nice that looks. I love it. So the leftover yarn, it looks small, but really this is stretched a lot. You see, it really have a nice stretch to it. This for a kid from 19 months to 3 years will fit no problem. So this is the leftover yarn, so I have a little bit of each color, except the orange that I had, that one and this one in here. So I'm gonna see if I divide them, all of them, the same amount in 2 balls, to see if I can do 2 mittens for William, even they are small little mittens. Maybe, I don't know, maybe fingerless, or let's see. If I have enough to do it, I will show you, because I will try to do one. If I have enough in the other ball, exactly the same amount, I'm going to weigh the yarn. If I had exactly the same amount, I will then record the video doing the other mitten. But I adore these hat. And with these strings, perfect, he can't take them off. So when he's in the mood, I will put it on. Right now he's asleep. I will put it on and I will take a picture, and then you will see the hat on, if he let me do that.
Well, I absolutely love the end result, and you can see all the color of the yarn in this hat is beautiful. And I hope you guys like it, and give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you are not already a subscriber. And if you make this beautiful hat or any of my design and you want to send me some picture, you can do it through my Facebook page, Ruby Crochet Tejido, or my Instagram, Ruby Crochet Tejido. Please share my video with friends and family and in groups. That way you help me grow here in YouTube. I wish you have a beautiful day. Bye.